Hello, and welcome to the Radiant Mission Podcast. My name is Rebecca Twomey, and I'm here with my amazing co host and sister, Rachel Smith,
Hey everyone.
and a special guest that snuck in here, and it's a man.
And you did not make him come in.
I was invited.
He was invited, he was not forced to come on this episode. He was asked, do you want to be a part of this? And he said yes. And his name is Michael Toomey. You've heard him before. My husband. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mikey with the glasses.
My name is Michael Toumois.
Rachel, you got to share the story of Mikey with the glasses with our audience so they know what you're talking about.
So Mikey is from Staten Island and he's got that accent, and he also for some reason permanently has sunglasses affixed to the top of his head.
Like a
Like-
headband.
Yeah, like 80% of his life. I don't even see them on your eyes very often. They're
Not
just always
anymore.
on his head. And I guess years and years ago, we were all in Florida and you had your glasses. And what was it? Our brother, someone was like,
Well, so we were going to take a family photo of all of us with
yeah,
our parents, all of us kids were there, and all the grandkids were there. And so we were going to take a picture of everyone. And somebody said, "Hey, Mikey with the glasses."
How are you guys trying to tell this story and you don't even remember? We're all taking a family photo. I have glasses on my head. And Stephanie goes, "Hey, Mikey with the glasses, take them off. What are you doing?" And so,
wasn't it Stephanie's dad?
Stephanie's dad.
no, that was, you guys all just laughed about the fact that her dad, Joe, is from New York. And when we saw each other, we've literally never seen each other before in our whole lives. And he got there and I was like, "Oh, Joe." And he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And it was like we knew each other and it's been like 30 years. So
You Italians, you could spot each other.
then my Italians.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how you got the Mikey with the glasses nickname. And that's what even my kids call you, Uncle Mikey with the glasses.
That's
Bada
how
bing.
that's how I sign his name on cards to any of the nieces and nephews. Uncle Mikey with the glasses. Like they'll forever know him as that. Well, we didn't mention that we're on a mission to encourage and inspire others as they're navigating through their life and with their relationship with Christ. So I want to mention that. But also that we're in a series called God's Design for Birth. And a lot of people are probably like, well, why is this man here? Haven't you been talking about men don't know anything about birth? Well, guess what? This one does. Midwife Mike is his nickname because he was my baby catcher for Benny, baby number 2. And
You got to be midwife Mikey with the glasses that day.
Midwife Mikey with the glasses. And so he was also a big part of Bryn's birth, obviously, because we had a wild pregnancy and then an unassisted home birth. And it's just me and Mike planning this birth event that was going to come and preparing for it and everything like that. So, yeah, we just want to talk a little bit about free birth or unassisted birth and kind of what that looks like and what that looks like with a husband involved too. I think that a lot of women are very intimidated by rebirthing because their husbands don't support them in that and they're scared and they're like, are you crazy? We need to go to the hospital and all that. So I'd actually like to ask you the first question, which is what makes you different from all these other men that are afraid of home birth and afraid of unassisted birth? Why do you have such confidence in having babies at home?
My wife. I mean, at the end of the day, it all really comes down to the mom. For me, I just had a lot of faith, and I know the experience that we had first, and we needed to do something different, and this was it. And really, we didn't go into, going back to Benny's birth, we didn't expect to free birth. It was just the opportunity and the door that opened for us.
Yeah, we didn't plan it,
Yeah, it wasn't
but
planned.
we planned we were prepared to have a home birth, and that prepared us.
But not a free birth.
Not a free birth.
Not a free birth. But then once you do it once, I mean, you realize you really don't want anybody there anyway.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, Mike's responsibilities in birth, in the birthing time, are setting up the pool, being there to support me mentally, emotionally, physically, and cleanup crew. Because you need one of those. I mean,
Home birth's a little messy.
these babies coming out, it's not like, cleanest thing in the world. If you had your baby in the shower, that'd actually be probably pretty ideal for a quick
Just
clean.
wash it all down the drain.
Yeah, yeah, but it's definitely good to have someone there. I do see women sometimes that have free births without anybody, and that's something to think about.
And they
Like,
clean up their own mess?
yeah, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
Wild birth.
that is wild.
Might as well just go do it out in the field if you're gonna do it that wild.
Yeah, right. Just like
Yeah.
outside or in a creek or somewhere where you don't have a lot to clean up a lot. I mean, because if you had a baby in your bed and
Oh, what a
had to clean
wreck.
it up yourself, it'd just be a lot. And you'd have to get a new mattress if you didn't put plastic down. So we learned a lot between actually the last birth and this birth, speaking of plastic, and that was one of them. We were told use a shower curtain liner because they're cheap and they're easy, but they're so small that you have to use many of them to cover a mattress. And because they're so thin, they're kind of slippery. And it was a good idea, but honestly, a better idea is to use a gigantic drop cloth that's plastic. So we did that the second time, and I bought a bunch of them so that we could basically line everything, like one draped over the bed, tucked in, and then another one tucked into the side of the bed so that it's just completely covered. And then the third one was on the floor. And the second one that was tucked into the side of the bed also draped across the carpet. Because listen, we learned.
Were you setting all this up, Mike, while her was in labor?
Yeah, I set
You're
all this
draping
up.
all the drop cloths like a
set it all up and just get everything ready while she's in the water. But it was actually perfect the way we had it set it up this time because right before she got back in bed.
Well, you're jumping ahead. But yeah.
I mean,
we haven't got to that part of the story.
I know what you want to say.
Yeah, sure you do.
So let's back up before we get there. But the point is to say that we learned a lot between the last one and this one. So we went into this with a game plan, and like Mike knew what he needed to do, and I just needed to focus on having the baby. So let's talk about the birth part, and then we can share all the cool, fun details that.
Yeah, why don't you start at going into your
So
labor
we were
time.
with you a couple weeks before I had baby. You had your baby.
Yeah, we were hoping you would go into labor while I was at the birthing center so that we could get a 2-for-1.
Two for one. We were gonna try to get that done. Didn't work out. Although I was having sympathy contractions when you were in labor,
Right.
which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So we went back home, and it honestly felt like as soon as we got home, I was like up a creek. Like that's when I felt like I was having a lot of hip pain and that pelvic pain, and just like I was getting there, right? Because I was at the end. And we talked about last episode how we had a wild pregnancy, so my guess date was a guess, and we didn't know exactly when baby was going to come, but I had an estimate. And it's funny kind of how things change, and this isn't the same for everybody, but what has been for me, that a lot of people get really annoyed and frustrated at the end of their pregnancy because people are like, have you had the baby yet? Have you had the baby yet? Like, you think you're gonna have a baby today? And like asking all these questions and stuff. But I kind of make a game out of it at the end. This helped with Ben, and I brought it back with Bryn, where I go on Facebook to my Facebook friends and I'm like, place your guesses. What day do you think the baby's gonna be born? And this time it was fun because I got to say, like, what gender do you think it's gonna be, a boy or a girl? And how much you think the baby's going to weigh. And it just kind of is like a distraction for people, I feel like. And then I feel like when your friends and family are doing that, then they're like hoping that they're right in a way. Like, oh, I hope it
Yeah,
comes on
I thought you were gonna give birth on July 4th. That was my
Yeah.
guess.
I did not. So, fun fact, Mike's mom's birthday is July 4th, and one of our good friends is the day after that. And I'm like, I gotta hold out. I can't be having a baby on the same day. Like, I'm gonna, as if we have any control over that. But going into July 4th, I didn't feel like I was gonna have a baby on July 4th. I was like, no, baby's not coming today. So that was one of the fun things we talked about last episode too. We didn't know if we were gonna have a girl or a boy. So that was something to look
Mike, you thought it was gonna be a girl all along though, didn't you?
me.
No, Mike didn't.
You know,
Mike.
he thought it was going to be a girl, and then at the end, he was like, "It's going to be a boy."
I
Because
was hoping. I was wishful thinking that it was going to be a boy, but I knew it'd be a girl.
he was trying to
I've
change
guessed
his
all three
mind.
babies so far. I knew all three.
He has the intuition,
I
apparently.
do.
So leading up to going into labor, the last couple of weeks of pregnancy, I had a lot of contractions, whatever you want to call that. Predominant labor, Braxton Hicks, all of them are men's names. So whatever man's name makeup thing we want to call it, my uterus was preparing, is really what it comes down to. Because before you give birth, your uterus starts to contract and it's preparing, it's moving the baby little by little. And so obviously I knew it was going to come. But the funny thing is, this time I wasn't so focused on some of the other things that I have been in the past, like mucus plug, because I've learned that your mucus plug can fall out and regenerate and come back. That happened to me 3 times with Ben. So I was like, that doesn't mean anything. I also wasn't as crazy about red raspberry leaf this time. I did drink some, but I wasn't as on top of it as I had been previously. I feel like my uterus has worked hard enough and she didn't need it too much. I definitely didn't do any dates except for the like one you had me eat. And I just kind of was like, let's see. This is a little wild pregnancy. Let's see how this goes. And I think I would say like the couple of days leading up to, it was ramping up, but it wasn't anything to where I felt, oh, for sure the baby's gonna come soon. And I did have both. I went into labor with both Brooke and Ben at 39 and 5. So when 39 and 5 came, I definitely was getting kind of like, is she gonna come? Or the baby, I didn't know. Is the baby gonna come? Or whatever. But the day came and went. And we talked last time about how kind of where I was mentally back and forth, but I started to do a lot of fear clearing. I've mentioned in the past, I know some people are very against this, but I've done hypno babies in the past, and I did listen to hypno babies tracks this time, and it got me feeling prepared mentally to just believe that I can give birth and all that. And so I was doing like making sure that if I had any nervousness whatsoever, I would just focus on clearing whatever I was afraid of or nervous about. And then on Friday, July 7th, I started to have some mild contractions, and it was a work day. It was actually my last day at work because, as we talked about, the reason I got that one ultrasound was to make sure my dating was okay, like so that I could plan my maternity leave. And I planned that that would be my last day. And then Monday, I was off for maternity leave. So I had a meeting at 2 o'clock, and I was talking with my team, and the contractions were starting to bother me a little bit. Like,
Yeah, I remember you texting me when you were on that call and you're like, I'm really feeling it now. I think this is real. And that was
yeah,
like the last text I got from you. And then the rest of the time I was talking to mom because
okay,
then you like were busy on your call and then everything happened.
that's right.
Oops,
And
sorry, didn't mean to spoil it.
what's that?
Nothing.
Oh, and that's right. And mom came here on that Monday. She came the day
Yeah.
before. 4th of July was on a Tuesday. She flew in on Monday. And I was kind of joking, like, man, you're really cutting it at the limit here, mom, because I usually so far had a history of 39 and 5. So for her to come at, I feel like she came at 39 and 3 or something. It was like, really, thank you for coming. So now I can have the baby. Like, we were just joking around.
Yeah.
So she was here, and yeah, I was on that call. and it started to pick up. And I remember saying to my team, I was like, listen, guys, I'm sorry if I seem kind of like edgy. I wasn't my normal chipper, happy self. I was kind of short. I'm like, I'm having some contractions.
Yeah, you're like literally in labor. Sorry if I'm short with you guys.
Yeah, I was like, sorry if I'm a little grumpy or short with you guys. I'm having some light contractions here. And I just remember saying at the end, all right, everybody, I'm gonna go have the baby now, like jokingly. And then I hung up the call and I was like, I should go upstairs. Like I should go upstairs. So I went upstairs into my birth closet and I just draped over the ball. And Mike works from home too, and he was upstairs. And so I walked by you and you were on a call, and I was basically like, I'm going in the closet. I'm having contractions. And he was just like, okay. And so I'm in there for a little bit. I feel like you did come check on me once or something and then go back, or I don't know. I started to time things and I'm like, oh, they're really close together now. Like it's already there. Like we've already ramped after just being in there for a little while. So we're talking like it was 2:30 or 3 o'clock when I got off that call and went upstairs and was in the closet. And then I really felt them ramping up a lot. So I called Mike from the closet and he didn't answer. And I'm like, how could you not answer the phone? Like this is like serious here.
Did you
But
know she was in labor, Mike? Or
he
you
did.
just thought,
No, I didn't think that she was actually in labor. I like knew that some things were going on because she was like texting me that, hey, something, I'm feeling some
Something's
sort
going
of
on.
way. And then when she called me, I was on a work call and it was like 2:59 and there was another call at 3 and I'm like, listen, Will, I gotta go check on my wife. I'm pretty sure she's about to have this baby. Tell everybody where I'm at. Like I'm not gonna make this 3 o'clock. And so I like missed her phone call and then I just closed that work call and was just getting up to go to her. Like I didn't need to talk to her on the phone. I was just gonna go check.
Yeah, so
And I remember the moment of getting into the room and like opening the closet door, and I immediately got like a rush came over me like of pins and needles, and I knew that it was like on. It was like totally on, and it was way further than I thought it was already.
what gave you that rush? Was it like the father's hormonal intuition, or was it like
Yeah,
seeing Rebecca?
I think it's hormones and a mix of like hormones and just Holy Spirit in there, and like I felt it. I felt it as soon as I opened the door. It's like I didn't even make eye contact with her, but I just like the energy was in there that it was happening.
yeah, my eyes were closed. I was just leaning over the ball and I'm like, about time. Glad you came in here. I called you, and he's like, I know, but I just was gonna come in
He
here.
had a long commute down that hallway.
It was a real long commute. I was really worried because he didn't answer the phone. So I'm sitting there thinking, do I need to get up and go get him? But then I was like, I don't, whatever it is, it's gonna be. And I just went back into my labor land and was just
Oh.
focusing. I had my headphones in, I was listening to my tracks, and like I wasn't gonna get out of that. So when he comes into the closet, I'm like, you got to get that pool up stat. It's time. And he's like, really? Already? I'm like, yes,
She was
it
like
is.
fast, like don't waste any time. You got to set the pool up now. Get water in it. She
Yeah.
was like rushing me along.
I was rushing him
I was like,
along.
whoa, you are way further along than I thought. This is like hot and heavy, going fast.
So I actually
Yeah,
went,
you guys barely even got much water in that pool.
Yeah.
yeah, in the beginning. I actually got up from the ball, and our closet is right off of the bathroom where we set up our birth pool. So I went into the bathroom and sat on the toilet backwards. I was like, all right, people talk about dilation station. Let's do this. And I'm like, I'm going to sit here for as long as I'm able to do while he's setting up the pool. So our bathroom where the toilet is it's a toilet room, like a small little room where the toilet is.
The
And then
water closet.
the water closet, yeah. And then he's on the I can't see him because the shower's on the other side of that. But we hook up the hose for the birth pool to the faucet, spigot, whatever you want to call it. What is it
Shower
called?
head.
The shower head. He takes off the shower head and he puts the hose where that shower head would go so that he can run the water into the birth pool, which is in the middle of our bathroom. And I just want to mention this real quick. I actually have seen this a couple of times. People have asked if they should get a birth pool, and some of the groups that I'm in, difference between a birth pool if you already have a bathtub. We have a gigantic bathtub in that bathroom, and I labored in there with Brooke, and I did not like it because it's a hard bottom. You're on your knees a lot, you're trying to move around a lot, and it's not comfortable. So with
Mhm.
Ben, I actually, after the midwife dropped us, I was going to use her pool, but I just felt like I need to just buy my own. I had just this feeling like just buy it. And I'm glad that I did because now here we are, birth number 2, using our own birth pool.
Getting your money's worth.
There you go. But a birth pool is different in that it is designed for birthing babies. It's very deep. You don't want to give birth to a baby in water, half out of the water. You want to be fully submerged. So a birth pool is nice and deep. It also has the handles on the side that I like a lot because I can like hold on to them and kind of move back and forth, or you can drape over the side and it's very soft and it has padding on the bottom. So I'm a big fan of birth pools. I love mine and I think that it's great. We get a birth pool liner that basically just drapes over it so that you don't have to clean the pool afterwards. You just
Just
drain
throw the
everything
liner
out of it
away.
and you throw that liner away. It's kind of like when you go to the nail salon and they put one of those plastic liners on the bottom of your foot bath. Similar kind of concept. So when I peek around, I don't know the timeline of things. You're gonna have to share some of the timeline of things with what happened with you because
Oh yeah.
I'm over here laboring and Mike is going through so much drama trying to get this pool up because when he went into the shower to do the hose, he knocked over a glass bottle and it shattered on the floor of the shower. And then he stepped on it and the shard of glass like lodged into his foot. When he took it out or like picked it out, he had blood all over his hand, which he then got blood all over the wall of the shower.
So tell us the drama, Mike, because
Yeah, it
you're the
was
one
so
experiencing
crazy.
it.
So it all started with that phone call that I didn't pick up, and I was just like gonna run into the closet. I had to say goodbye to work and let's start this birth. I get in and she's like, "You need to move and get water in this tub." And I'm like, "All right, I'm on it." And I just immediately go start to fill up. You got to blow it up first. It's an inflatable, and then I go to
So you're
put
blowing
water
it
in
up by mouth. I'm just
What?
kidding. I said, so you're blowing it up by mouth.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm turning blue and no, so
We have a pump.
I get it blown up and then you got to put water in it. So I go to put water in it and I'm looking for the hose attachment and it's the wrong size. The first birth that we did at home, I bought a piece and it was the wrong piece first. And so I had enough time where I tested it and I bought the second piece. Well, for this birth, I just knew I had the right piece. And so when I opened the box and I used the piece, it was the wrong piece.
It was the wrong one.
So
from the
it
first
was the
time.
wrong size and the hose did not connect to the shower. So it was like a critical failure where I had to then first of all, I had to be so stressed out that I couldn't find it. And you don't have time to be like, let me go run to Home Depot over here. So
Well, where did the original piece go?
It was
The
in a
one.
box.
it was in a different place that I
It
didn't know.
wasn't with all his
It
stuff.
wasn't where I
Oh,
thought it was, and I didn't
He
really
okay.
didn't do
have
a test.
time
He
to
didn't do a
go
test run this time.
fool around with it. I didn't know I needed a test
Right.
run.
Found
I've
it
already
right
done it.
after.
Yeah.
And so I am literally holding this hose up to the shower, and it's dripping on me, just dripping down, and water's
That's right.
hardly
You were
coming out.
soaked.
And then she goes and looks at the tub and she goes, "You didn't put the liner in." So there's
Oh, no.
3 inches of water in there and the liner's not even in. And I'm like, oh. So I just take the liner and put it in. And so now the liner's floating and I continue to fill it up. And I'm running back and forth. Everything is crazy. and I knock over this glass bottle, which, first of all, who keeps a glass bottle in the shower? I don't know.
It was shower
It was
oil.
a serum. Don't defend
It
yourself.
was shower
Shouldn't have been there.
oil.
It's only plastic bottles in the shower. This is why you don't have glass by the pool, because this is the kind of stuff that happens. So I bump into it, I knock it over, and it breaks. And I see it on the floor, and I just go, all right, it's here. And then I'm like running around, jumping out of the shower. And one of the times I jump out of the shower and land right on this huge shard of glass that's sticking up like spikes. And I literally land right on it. My foot, I feel it. I'm like, oh, I thought there was only glass in the shower. This glass piece, like, it cracked and fell out of the shower. And so I look at I look down and I go, oh my God, there's blood. What happened? And I look at my foot and there's like a gash in my foot, just a huge gash in the middle of my left foot. And I'm like, I really don't have time to stop. So I'm just going to bleed a little bit and like continue running around. And so my number one job is fill the pool. So after
And
I
you're
finished
failing miserably.
whatever running around I did, I just literally had to stand there and hold this hose up and get just dripped on because there was no seal on the hose. And
Yeah.
and finally it must have taken like an hour, probably an hour and 15 minutes, because it's a lot of water that
It
has to
didn't
go in
take an
there.
hour and 15
It
minutes.
felt
I
like a
started
lifetime.
giving birth.
It felt like a lifetime, whatever it was. It must have been like at least a week.
Felt like a lifetime for him.
Yeah. And finally we get the water in. And then I look around and I've just been bleeding all over. Like I'm running up and down the hallway and
Oh
there's
my
blood.
gosh.
And I go, all right, I need to like just like put on a shoe. And so I just put on my oldest pair of shoes to like just keep my foot together because I was just bleeding out the whole time. So that's the
Wow.
So
This is your
one of
own
the times
personal labor experience.
yeah, right. One of the times
I bled more than her.
one of the times that I checked on him early on was when there was no liner, as he mentioned. I was like, the liner's not in here. And then after he put the liner in, he was filling it a little bit more, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get in. Like I got in before it was full. I just was like, I gotta get in here because I need to get in my zone. But before I got in, I remember looking over at him, and he's all like, there's blood everywhere, and he's soaked because he's holding the hose and it's getting all over him. I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. And it was just kind of almost like a funny moment because it's like somebody here needs to go to the hospital and it's not me. Not the one that's giving birth. It's the other guy who's over here bleeding out of his foot. But he did continue to hold out hose while I got into the water, and it continued to fill up. And I just was still, this was the longest I've listened to my tracks, I will say, because when went into labor with Ben, I listened to it until basically I got in the water, and then I kind of like discarded it and kind of moved on. But this time and it helped me to stay in the zone with all this nonsense that was going on with Mike in the shower. So I'm just, going along. And then I felt like I was getting close, and Mike put a sock on and a shoe on to get on the side of the pool. And he was just kind of standing there with me. And I think you had your bathing suit on or something. And whatever.
How crazy would it have been if this glass popped the pool and then it just
No. Well, then I couldn't have gone into the shower either because there was glass in there. It was a good thing. So circling back to the plastic on the floor, it was a good thing that we had all this plastic on the floor because it
Yeah.
did
I
catch
bled
all
all over it.
it all
Oh,
all
wow.
over
I
this
was
plastic.
running around. I had only a sock on for a while, and then I realized that I was just bleeding right through the sock. It was just soaked, and everywhere I stepped, blood was coming out.
Did you like need stitches or was it just
If I went somewhere, they probably would have stitched it, but I used like one of those I used like a
butterfly
liquid
band-aids?
Band-Aid, like
Oh.
the glue where you
Mhm.
glue your skin back together.
Yeah, I've used that on my kids' heads.
Yeah, that's what I did. So it was
Yeah,
good. I
that's
kept
great.
it super clean and just like peroxided it, but I was limping around. It was actually really bad. It hurt a lot.
Yeah, we kind of addressed that after the baby came, then we meaning Mike and mom, cleaned him up. I think she made a Walmart order,
Yeah, she made a
like,
Walmart
and got
order
it
and got like
delivered.
liquid Band-Aid and
She got all the stuff to take care of it. So I guess
gauze.
we should talk about mom because she was here at our house. She was watching Brooke and Ben. One of them was taking, I think Benny would have been taking a nap when this started. But as
I
we got,
remember mom texting me that Ben got woken up because Mike was looking for shoes. And I was like, what is he looking for shoes for? I actually didn't know this whole part about your foot. But she's like, he woke Ben up at the worst time because she was going to try to be in there.
yeah,
And so mom and I were texting the whole time, and there was like no plan really. Like she was going to take care of the kids if she had to.
Mhm.
And I was like, Mom, go next door because you guys are really good friends with all your neighbors. I'm like, go next door and see if you can leave the kids with them for like, and it's not going to take long, like an hour. It sounds like she's really close.
yeah.
So you can be in and take pictures and videos again like she did the first time. And she's like, they're not home. And her and I are just like texting back and forth because I'm like, find someone to watch the kids, Mom.
Yeah, she went to our neighbors that are next door to us. We're very close with. We're close with all of our neighbors, so she could have gone to
Yeah.
anybody who would have helped her out. But she ended up going to. So if you are a listener of the show, you may remember Sarah, the lactation consultant. Her mother-in-law lives down the street from us, and she's a very good friend of ours. And so that was the second place that she was like, okay, they're not home. Let me go over there. And she went over there, and she, of course, was like, yes, let me take them in. And then mom came back so she could be here for the birth part, like you said. So mom shows up, and it's like right towards the end at this point. And
Yeah, I think it was like within minutes when she
yeah, it
finally
was like
got in there.
maybe the last 20 minutes,
Yeah,
something like
Yeah.
that.
that's what I was thinking too.
Because she took some photos and videos and stuff like that. And it was interesting going into this labor because, like I said last time, I didn't know how it was going to be compared to my birth with Ben. That labor went so smoothly and it was very quick. I think it was like, what, 3 hours and change or something like that with Ben from like the time that my contractions picked up to the time that he was born. And So when I got into the pool, I just kind of went with what my body was feeling, just like I did the time before. And you know what was funny? It was like I wanted to do the same things. I liked to be on my knees, but also kind of like swaying and opening up my hips and opening up my legs and leaning forward. And the same movements that I did with him is what I felt this time too. But things went a little bit differently when I finally started to feel pushy and feel like I was, feeling ready to push. I didn't have the feeling that I had with Ben, which was that I had to go number two. I didn't have that this time. I was waiting, almost like waiting for that. Like, once that happens, then it's time. But I didn't have that. I just felt like pushing. And so I started pushing and I felt her head come out. And I felt the head, but I still felt really uncomfortable. Like I could feel her head out, but it didn't feel the same as it did with Ben. It wasn't until I leaned back, just like I did with him, that I realized, or that we both realized, I don't know if it was Mike or me first, her head wasn't out all the way. Like with Ben, when I was upright and his head came down all the way to his neck. With her, it was her head, but not all the way to her neck. Almost, but not all the way. So that's why I was feeling a lot of pressure still.
Did you
And
not
so
have
when
the
I
ring
sat,
of fire like that with her head half out?
yeah, I would say probably a little bit. Yeah, it definitely didn't feel, it felt like I needed to push more. Like it was very full feeling. And so when I sat back, that was when Mike was like, just relax, take your time. Because listen, I watch all these birth videos and some women are just so calm and cool and collected. And I'm like, I want to try that. I want to be calmer. In the moment, I was frantic. Like,
You were calm,
but then
cool, collected, and in control until the last 2 minutes of the birth, where I could tell you were like just getting anxious, like, all right, just get the baby out. And I was telling you, whoa, 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 you are there. Like, just breathe. Like, let the next contraction come. You know, you don't need to rush this. You don't need to be in control. Just relax because you're there. Like, she was basically out. You know, she was basically out. I could see her. She was completely under the water. There was no reason to be frantic.
Yeah,
It was
that
like
helped.
just let it happen. You're 10 seconds away.
That helped me a lot that he kind of centered, because then I was able to take a deep breath, like he said, and I just laid back and I smiled and I was just like, all right. And I chilled back again until I was calm enough to start pushing again. But just that discomfort of her head not being all the way out, it was just a weird feeling. So it kind of had me panic for a second. But I definitely learned another thing I learned from your birth was the low moaning. When I had Ben, I screamed like a couple times. I had a couple good screams. I didn't do that this time.
I knew that we were 10, 15 minutes out because you did let out a couple of like hard screams like the first time. It definitely was not as
It wasn't high
crazy
pitched
and
though.
in my ear as the first time. But it was, I knew by the intensity of your moan or whatever you want to call it, I knew that we were there. It was like your signature move right at the end.
Signature move.
Yeah.
Everyone's signature move is your.
I mean, I was screaming like a banshee for hours in mine. The thought never even occurred to me not to.
Yeah. But you were keeping it low toned, and that was one of the.
Yeah, I was at first. I actually know what Mike means, that there's a point of like the low tone,
Mhm.
and then the point of like really where that head is poking. Like when it's like right, I think what it is when our pelvis is just like being split open by the baby. I think that's the screamy part, because like we're being moved around from the inside. So
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yep. So sat back and then pushed her out. And it was kind of funny because going into this birth, you know how you were gonna have Chris catch your baby, and then in the end
yeah,
you snatched him up and caught your own
yeah.
baby. You kind of like inspired me, and I'm like, I think I want to catch my baby. And then when I was in the moment, there was nothing I wanted to do less than catch the baby. I literally was sitting on my hands in the pool, and I was like, I don't want to catch the baby. Catch the baby, please.
Good, because that's my
Did you
favorite part.
say it, or it was just like that's what you guys knew was going to happen?
Oh, I said it. I think I said I need you to catch the
Yeah,
baby.
I think you did, but I also was like getting in. I knew when you went
With
to
his
your back, it
bloody
was like,
foot.
we're there. And then I saw that the baby was basically out, and I'm like, just relax, we're here. And she was like,
Did you take your shoe off? What happened with
Yeah,
your foot?
I took my shoe off, I'm
he kept
sure.
the
Yeah, I
sock
just
on,
kept the
but
sock
he
on.
had his shoe off.
The
Yeah.
sock was like really good because it basically kept my split skin together. Like I might have been bleeding out, but at least like my foot wasn't flapping around. Like it was held together by the sock.
I love how this birth story is like equally about Mike's cut.
Yes, and that's why
It
Mike
was
is
almost the
here.
most eventful thing of the birth. It was so quick. It was the most dangerous for
Honestly,
sure.
the most dramatic
The
and
most painful.
medical
Yeah.
part and painful part of my birth was Mike's cut.
Was me. Yeah, taking care of my cut.
Mike's cut was the star of the show. So the baby
You
was
should actually call this episode Mike's foot or something.
Mike's foot injury.
Mike injured his foot during my wild birth.
Mike's foot story.
Yeah.
So you get in the tub with your mangled foot, and the baby's on the way out.
Yeah. I just hop right in. Like she's ready to go. I just hop right in, put my hands underneath, and wait for the baby to pop out. And then when the baby's underwater, this time since I learned that until the baby actually comes above the water and breathes, they're not using their lungs. I like let her come out and I like watched her for a second and was just like, wow, she's really just like floating all good. And then I took her out, later on, mommy.
Did you know in that second it was a girl? Like, how was
No, I
that?
didn't
How
know.
was
I didn't
how
even
was
think about the gender until they both said it and like looked and said it's a girl. I did not even think of it.
who
I'm
said it?
so relieved when the baby
Yeah.
comes out. I can think of nothing else but just like crying with joy
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful that like
Yeah.
we just did this alone. Like it is scary, even though we have a lot of faith and it takes a lot of faith to do it alone. And when it's over, it's like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, when she came out and he lifted her and put her on my chest, I remember seeing the umbilical cord and it being like really thick. I felt like it was big, but I didn't see that it was a girl or a boy. But I remember thinking, I didn't see any little peenie or little testicles or anything. Like, usually a boy, you can tell because you see those things when he would have handed the baby to me. And so I remember thinking, I think it might be a girl. I didn't see anything. And then when I lifted her up to look, I was like, oh, it's a girl. I was less surprised than I think, like, maybe it would have been more fun if I was more surprised. Because when I watched the video back, I'm like, oh, it's a girl. And it's like, I'm not that
No,
surprised.
mom didn't get the video. Remember, you had to redo that.
Oh, yeah.
So I
Okay, maybe
remember
that's why
this.
then. You're right. You're right.
Yes, because the reason I was pressuring mom so much to drop the kids off somewhere and get up there and be your videographer is because I literally texted mom, she's really going to want a video of finding out what the baby is. So you got to get this video. And then when the baby was born, I'm like, where's the video of finding out what the baby is? She's like, I didn't get it. And so you told me later that she stopped recording like right when you looked.
You're right. That's right. That I guess
Yeah.
that is why the video I have is like I just say it's a girl and I don't
Yeah.
sound at all like I just found
Yeah.
out that it was a girl.
Yeah.
She was
Because
definitely excited. I can remember you just like, you're in that state of euphoria after you just had the baby and you're just
yeah.
you were like, oh, it's a girl.
Oh wow.
Oh, I
Okay.
remember.
I don't even
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah,
Like, I
you
have
were definitely excited.
amnesia.
You and your mom were both super excited that it was a girl. And I was like, oh, well, the baby's born.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
so
did not matter if it was a girl or a boy. The best part was that the baby was out.
Yeah.
was big. She was 9 pounds. Biggest one yet. Ben was close. He was 8 pounds 15 ounces. So he was close contender there. But yeah, she was born and she was pretty purple when she was born.
She was super purple. It was
Yeah.
actually terrifying, but
It was only terrifying to Mike and Mom. I was not terrified
yeah,
at all.
it was only terrifying to 2 out of 3 people in the room.
Which
And
It
one
actually,
was
it kind of scared me too, because mom texted me a picture within minutes that the baby was born. And I was like, she looks really purple. Is everything okay? And then mom didn't text me back for like 20 more minutes. I'm like, is everything okay, mom?
yeah, she was definitely real blue, and she took a little bit to start crying, but she did let out some cries, and she was breathing, and
Yeah.
she came to color fairly quickly, but the initial color, I was like, oh man, that's a Smurf baby. This is not good.
yeah, they were
It was
almost
scary.
like trying to freak me
Well,
out.
when you
I
have
know they weren't
no one
trying to
else in
freak
the
me out.
room and you're the only judgment of like, is this baby healthy and everything okay? And you've only seen 2 other babies be born in your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The context
Just,
there.
the context there.
And that's the thing and the difference with why it's so important that I'm invested and learning about birth and what's normal and what's not. That's why I wasn't worried. I was like, this, I've seen this happen with many, many different babies. And the baby, it just takes a couple of minutes for baby to pink up. And it took her a little bit. She was fine. There was no issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
She was hooked up to her cord. She was getting that oxygen.
she was on her cord. So I didn't stay in the water for long because same thing as last time. I wanted to, make sure that I wasn't losing too much blood, and it's hard to tell when you're in the water how much blood you're losing. So I almost immediately got out, and as I was walking towards the bed, this is the part that Mike wanted to tell earlier. The bathroom is right here and our bedroom is right outside of it. And we had this plastic sheets running,
Plastic red carpet all the way.
running all the
Plastic
way,
carpet.
tucked into the side of the bed, draped over the side of the bed. And I get right next to the bed and I walk up to it and pause for a second. And I'm like, oh, and then my placenta fell out.
Flopped out.
Like,
Out.
I mean, I had to push a little bit, but I felt it right there and I was like, ugh, and I squeezed and it just popped right out.
Yeah.
Right onto the floor.
Splattered right onto the floor, splattered all over the place. But it was basically like a Dexter episode. Everything was covered in plastic and it was perfect.
That's what I was
It
picturing.
because of that plastic was there. So got that placenta into our placenta bowl and then baby wasn't attached.
Chopped it up,
So-
ate it right away.
Oh my gosh. So interestingly, most of us would want to like put the baby on us and golden hour and all that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, I really wanted to go get in the shower because my placenta had detached. So was it you or mom who held her?
Definitely your mom.
Mom
100%.
took the baby so I could go in the shower and rinse off because I figured since the placenta's out, let me rinse off before I go get in bed. But then as soon as I got into the shower, I'm like, why am I in the shower? I should be holding the baby. But it was fine. I actually had more blots this time than I did with Ben. And so I was glad that I ended up getting in the shower. My intuition was leading me to do this because as soon as that came out, I'm like, I need to go get in the shower right now. And I sat in the bottom of the shower just squeezing some more and I squeezed out a bunch of clots.
Lot.
A bunch. And it wasn't pieces of placenta because the placenta was completely intact. We checked it over and so did the doula that took my placenta because I did get it encapsulated. But I had a lot of clots. So
It was like canned beets
yeah, kind of was. It's kind of like,
Canned beets.
or canned cranberry sauce.
yeah, it's like
You know, that
canned
kind of
Oh.
cranberry
you know?
sauce, like
It's
pieces
like a
of
gel, like more of a
jelly.
Yeah.
It's jelly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I definitely feel like I bled more this time than I did with Ben. I didn't bleed a
And
lot.
so did Mike.
And so did Mike.
Yes.
It was a
much more than the last time.
That was a bloody show. But I got cleaned up and then I went and got in bed and was able to, do my thing, nurse her and finish golden hour and all that. And then
Yeah.
started his cleanup crew.
Yep.
And then mom shifted her attention to helping Mike with his foot and she ended up going back and picking up the kids so they could come meet the baby and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah. What a whirlwind.
it was. So we should say what time she was born at 4 something?
420, no?
Wasn't
Or
that Ben?
Ben? I don't know.
4:22?
Gosh, so she was born almost at the same time as Ben then.
No, it had to be later than that. Because if you went into labor at like 2
2.
or 3, I think you were done at like 4:45, 5 o'clock. You were done before the workday ended. I remember that.
I remember.
Because you
I
went back
remember-
and said, "Hey guys, I really did have the baby," and it was like before 5 on a Friday.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to find it. I don't know where
I'm pretty sure it was like 4:45.
where I wrote it down, but if you remember, went up at 3 and then she was born before 5. So I know that for a fact. Yeah, so it was like a 2-hour labor. It was very fast.
Hard and fast.
Yeah.
Very, very fast. And I literally did text or I slacked my team and I was like, I had the baby. And they're like, what? I'm just talking to you. What do you mean you had the baby? That's crazy. That's the story. Everything except for the time of birth,
It's pretty awesome. You guys are pros.
apparently.
We're getting
So anyone can hire Midwife, Mikey with the glasses, and Rebecca for free. They'll deliver your baby.
4:45.
Yeah, see,
And-
that's what
And it started like between 2 and 3.
That's
Well,
no
I got it confused because Ben was also born at 4 something.
Yeah.
420
420.
or 422 if
No,
we look at the
420.
camera or if we look at
No.
the video from the phone.
Look at the birth certificate.
Look at the birth certificate. So it's funny that both of them were born at before 5
the
o'clock on a
afternoon.
weekday. Seems
Yeah.
to be the MO here. And not was it Friday with Ben too? No, he was a different day. Wednesday.
I don't remember. I feel like he was a Wednesday, but I like the Friday birth was great because then we had like just a nice
Yeah.
relaxed
You did a
weekend.
nice long weekend.
Yeah, it was perfect. Perfect.
So convenient. You know,
was very
born on
convenient.
her guest date
Yeah.
before 5 o'clock on a
Friday.
Friday. You know,
What a perfect child.
she really is
Perfect from birth.
a perfect woman. She's a very accommodating baby. And no, but she's turned out to be such a sweetie pie. She's such a good baby. She's just very happy. And yeah, we're very blessed.
She's very sweet now. I would say the first like month or two, she's a little bit of a grumpykins, I would say.
To
She
everyone but me.
really only wanted Rebecca.
She was inside my body.
And I didn't feel bad because she even cried at Nana. And I knew if Nana couldn't settle this baby, I shouldn't even bother trying. It had to be mom.
Yeah. As the father, don't even bother.
But then once she got to like 5 or 6 months, she started getting more chill. And then I was in New York for like a week or two. And when I got back, now she is just like the sweetest little munchkin, happy baby. Only time she's crying is like if she's hungry, tired, needs a diaper change, like, and that's it. So like now she's getting good. She's getting good.
She's getting good.
She's winning me over now.
That's
I would
nice.
say that she's been a good baby from the beginning, but that
Because she was good to you, honey.
she's
It's nice to be the mom.
she's different. I mean, I nurse her, so there's that. That makes it a lot easier to pacify
Yes.
a
Literally.
baby that doesn't take a pacifier or a bottle or anything else, because like she won't take any of that, and so she's exclusively breastfed. All of them have been, but some of them took like Brooke took a bottle for you one of the feedings at night when she was a newborn. But then once we dropped that, she never did again. She was like, nah, I'm not doing this. So that's the story. Morning
Yeah.
glory.
Well, good job, guys. You
Thank
did
you.
great.
Thank you. Anything that we missed that you think we should mention before we wrap up for today?
I bite the cord. Part where I bite the cord.
Well,
Father dressed in white
Yeah.
steps forward. Mother bites the cord.
you actually did do the cord a little different this time. We did a tie.
Yeah, there was like a cute
A
tie.
cord tie because Brittany was a rainbow baby. So we had my very sweet friend Heather crocheted a rainbow cord tie. So we used a piece of string on one side and a cord tie on the other, and then Mike used the razor blade to cut the umbilical cord. But I will say I'll probably, if we have more kids, probably just use just string because it works just fine.
Yeah.
Pro tip out there. But this has been fun to share the story of Miss Brittany.
Thanks for joining, Mike.
Happy to do it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, thanks everyone who is participating in this right now. And thank you everyone who's listening. We hope that this has been a fun one to listen to. Thanks for tuning in. And if you'd like to follow along outside the podcast, join the mission on Instagram or Facebook with the handle The Radiant Mission. Or you can watch our podcast in video format on YouTube. And we are going to be closing with Philippians 4, verse 13. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. We are wishing you a radiant week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.